I'm going to start with what it was like for me to play ASO, or Armored Scrum Object, or Alpha Mission. For 20 minutes, I played up to about the halfway mark of the first stage over and over again. Then I got the brilliant idea to actually check the manual. Once I knew what I was doing, I actually used the tools available to me and made some pretty good progress. But even when you know what you're doing, ASO can wind up being pretty cruel. As you might guess, this is a port of an arcade game, and in terms of mechanics, it's kind of a halfway step between Gradius and Xevious. On the Famicom, the B button shoots the main gun, while the A button fires a ground-targeting missile. That missile has unlimited range, but it's slow firing, so you'll still want to pick your shots with it. If you don't, you're going to miss some of the ground targets, and that's where all the power-ups are hidden. The most vital ones to get are the S's. Your ship starts out nightmarishly slow. You'll have a hard time dodging anything unless you pick up one of these immediately. L's improve the power of your main cannon. You won't see much difference between the power levels while going through the stages, but it does affect the bosses. The M's upgrade the missiles. They're still tightly grouped when you shoot them though, so upgrading this doesn't make a whole lot of difference. The really significant thing about fully upgrading your ship is that it causes Ks to appear. Collecting Ks will prevent you from losing your power-ups when you die. Dying sends you all the way back to the start of the stage, no matter where you died at, and it can be really hard to get off the ground if you have nothing on some stages. The E's give you energy. Energy is needed to drive all of the special weapons. But before we get to that, let's talk about power downs, because ASO really loves being cruel. The backward K strips you of your power-ups. The C is the even worse version of that. It strips you of all your power-ups, and your energy, and your special weapon. And the backward E drains your energy. There's 3 more helpful panels to know about. The F blows up all of the ground targets in the area. It's useful for picking up a bunch of stuff really quick. The R sends you backwards about half a stage. It's actually kind of useful if you still need to power up your ship for some reason. The W, on the other hand, sends you forward about half a stage. The other things that you'll find by shooting the right spots are the weapon pickups. Each of these profiles stands for a different weapon, but picking them up doesn't automatically switch you. Instead, you have to hit select, and then guide your ship over which weapon you want. Each use of the weapon costs a bit of energy, and when you run out or switch the weapon off, you've lost that power-up. Keep an eye out for this question mark. It gives you all of the weapons. Octo makes your main cannon shoot in all 8 directions. Cannon makes your ship play Baroque music. If they spelled it with 2 N's in the middle, then it would make your ship rapidly fire with a wider spread of guns. Shield is probably the most effective weapon. It blocks any damage coming into your ship, and you only lose energy when you get hit. Energy is plentiful enough on the stages that you can keep the shield up pretty much forever. Homing doesn't really home so well. It fires a spread of missiles that go a little bit towards targets, but not a whole lot. Nuclear makes your missiles a lot more powerful, and the explosions can hit targets in the air. It also makes these guys pop out, and you can collect them for extra points. The Paralyzer sends out a beam in front of your ship that stops enemies in their tracks. It's okay at clearing out some of the more aggressive regular enemies, but it doesn't work on bosses. Fire, on the other hand, really works on bosses. That continuous stream of damage just makes them melt away. But when you really want something dead, use thunder. Everything on the screen dies when you fire thunder, including bosses. The most effective technique I found was to use the shield to get through the stages, and then switch to fire when I was at the boss. If you don't have shield, the Paralyzer is not a bad backup, or if you're trying to build up fast, homing is a good choice. And Thunder's so expensive that if you need something to wipe out a boss but don't have fire, save Thunder for then. I found Octo, Cannon, and Nuclear to be pretty worthless. Cannon's not enough of an upgrade over your regular shot. Nuclear is just too expensive for what you're getting. And the enemy patterns don't really support the use of Octo. And speaking of those enemy patterns, this is a bad tactic to use in most shoot-em-ups, but I recommend sticking to the bottom of the screen in ASO. There's a lot of enemies that zoom in really fast and drop to about the 3/4 mark on the screen. Meanwhile, being at the back gives you more time to react to the ground objects, and I never encountered anything that moved up from the rear. There also aren't enough enemy bullets to make limiting your movement options like that a real problem. There's also a major bug with ASO. When you press select to go to the weapon selection screen, and then press select to go back out of it, everything resets. All of the enemies are gone, any ground targets you shot are back, and there's a good chance you went backwards a screen or two. So you can use the weapon selection to escape major threats. I'm positive that's not intended behavior, more likely something that's still there because they didn't have enough time to fix it. ASO is the first Famicom game from SNK. They wind up not publishing a whole lot on the system. They're going to find success elsewhere. ASO isn't a particularly expensive game, but it has been tricky to acquire for me. When I started this project, it was the first hole in my collection, though I did have Alpha Mission, which only changes the title screen. Copies usually don't go for more than a couple of $100, but I just hadn't seen one be available from any place that I could do a bulk purchase in a while. I might be crazy, but I'm not spending $25 in shipping on a $5 game. As my collection now stands, I've got over 4 months before we reach the next gap. As for ASO, it's close to greatness, but I feel it comes up short. It has the Gradius problem where if you die and lose all your power-ups, then you have a really hard time getting going again. But it also has its own flaws, like how overpowered some weapons are, and how you can abuse the weapon selection screen. The enemies aren't particularly interesting, and ASO winds up repeating stages so that you have to go through each one twice before you advance. Overall, there's a reason that SNK doesn't stick to the shoot 'em up genre.